financial markets, cryptocurrency, gold and silver, world news.
Fair to say you simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We printed digital.
Hello, guys. Good day. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. I got a list of notes here. What I'm going to talk about is certain topics. I'm looking right at this camera. How come it doesn't focus on my eyes or not? Like it looks like I'm looking off that way or something. Anyway, I'm inside the car. I'm doing a car show today. And we're going to focus on a number of topics. I got 6 things written down on my notes here that I want to discuss. And they're kind of listed as sort of in relevance of importance of the things that are facing us in the situation in the world today that are like. So anyway, today is the first Monday. It's a Monday again. Everybody's got to go back to work, I guess. But anyway, the first in my topic, and there's 6 of these things that I want to talk about. The first thing is war. And the second is going to be the financial system, including the China collapse. That's topic number 2. The third topic I'm going to discuss is pandemic. Fourth is aliens. Fifth is artificial intelligence. And the 6th is the possibility of civil unrest. Now, a number of these topics are connected. For instance, topic number 1, war. It could be connected with, I'm going to explain how, could be connected with what the alien things that we're seeing coming out right now. And topic number 2, the financial system and China collapse, could be connected with civil unrest. So let's get started on topic number 1, war. What's the situation that's going on right now out there? Well, we all know the obvious, the Ukraine war. That's the obvious. But there's something much bigger and much deeper going on right now with this situation. Well, that Russia and China are working together. And the situation in Ukraine's been bad for a long period of time. But not just Russia and China are working together, but there's the whole BRICS nations, and they're out there right now, and they're looking to increase their world dominance and bring other nations into their fold and grow in their influence and their worldwide, and they're tired. They are tired of the financial repression that the West has been under their control all along through Bretton Woods monetary system. They've used that now as a financial weapon, this tool of world dominance. The World Bank, you've got your SWIFT payment system and stuff. It's like exclusive. And if they cut you off from these things, the financial markets, they can cause devastatingly powerful economic effects. The West can. And they can use that. They can use the monetary system as a weapon of control. And they're tired of that, the BRICS. They want to establish their own dominance in the world monetary system. So, what do we see? We see things heating up toward war because war has been a way through history that nations have used to establish dominance and use. And let's face it, how have they kept at the very origin of the petrodollar? When Kissinger went over and Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971. Nixon went over and he met with the Saudi nations and they established a relationship there. And the relationship worked like this. You protect us militarily, and we'll only sell oil in dollars, the Saudi nation's oil, and OPEC will sell oil in dollars. This was an established deal when Kissinger went over there. This is one of the things that's kept the dollar, and the dollar didn't need a gold standard any longer. And the reason why is because there was a loose peg to oil for the dollar. And so this situation continued on for many years, from 1971 all the way up until nearly the present. But now they're getting tired of this dominance of the dollar, because they wouldn't be getting tired of it if the West had managed the dollar properly and hadn't used it as a tool for weaponize the dollar to use against these nations, but also if the West had have kept a tight rein on their expenditures and stuff, not using that exorbitant privilege to just go out there and print a whole bunch of money and buy real things with it in the real world and depreciate the value of these dollars by overprinting. And the classic example of this is what they did during COVID. The stimmy checks and everything, they're just printing money high, wide, and handsome. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Well, these countries have invested in the dollar. Countries like China, for instance. They got like $1 trillion in U.S. reserves. Almost $1 trillion. Well, they did have over $1 trillion, but now it's still almost $1 trillion in U.S. reserves. That's their savings. And so by not managing the dollar properly, what they've done is they have basically depreciated the purchasing power of the dollar, thereby depreciating the purchasing power of these savings that these other countries have. So now we got this division happening. It's too late for sorry. They've decided they're going to create their own financial system. And the West is the empire. Their financial system's a new financial system that they're trying to create. And then we have this financial system over here, the legacy financial system. And basically there's an emerging financial system that's run by the BRICS. This is going to lead to a clash. The clash of titans. And could also lead to a world war. Ultimately. Because this is what's behind. It started with a trade war. And the trade war now has morphed into something with much more power and much more energy to it. So this isn't over. Not by a long shot. If you think the West is just going to stand there and let them take control of the world's financial system without a fight, you're kidding yourself. So that was the war topic, and I just started to touch on it. I haven't really fully went into it in depth, but it's a bad situation because it's slowly evolving, and they're not going to give up. They're not going to throw their hands up. They want all of the marbles. The BRICS want all the marbles. And the West still has the marbles, and they want them. You know, so look at it like two kids fighting over a bunch of marbles. It's going to be a big squabble. And it's already moving in that direction. Now, the second topic I wanted to talk about here is the financial system and China's collapse. That's topic number 2. Well, the financial system out there is built on a Ponzi scheme. And, of course, the whole world has been in the Western hegemony of their financial system that's built on the foundations of a Ponzi scheme. And this is part of the reasons why they want to separate and create their own financial system based on something real. Because Ponzi schemes were coming to an end of this Ponzi scheme at the same time as everything else is happening. And so, because it's not built on a solid foundation, this Ponzi scheme is built on constant leverage within the system, constant building up of more and more debt. It's a debt-based system. It's a debt-based Ponzi scheme. They're scared, too. They're scared about what happens when I'm talking about the BRICS. They're scared about what happens in the end when this Ponzi scheme collapses. They don't want to get caught in that. They want to create their own financial system that's extracted from this Ponzi scheme so that they don't collapse when the Ponzi scheme collapses at the same time. But what's happening is they're already connected to this Ponzi scheme. They're already connected, intrinsically connected. They're trying to disconnect, but they're still connected. And within the confines of that Ponzi scheme, China is collapsing right now. So what's that going to lead to? More desperation for them to break free and try to create their own system. Because they don't want to go down. They don't want to get sucked down the toilet bowl with all the rest of us. And so it's because China's still connected to this Ponzi scheme. Financially speaking, within the confines of this Ponzi scheme that China's still connected with, they're collapsing. So it's almost like a kid going to school, and say he's not getting good grades, and say according to the school system, he's getting an F grade. He's going to get an F grade. He's going to fail. But he has potential, because if he gets out there in the real world, he might make a tremendous success of himself. He might become a Bill Gates. But within the confines of that school system, he can't succeed. And that's what's happening to China right now. They're not succeeding within this Western-based financial system. And so they're thinking, hey, we'll create our own financial system. We'll trade back and forth between us and Russia. And Russia will trade with us. We'll trade with Russia, and we'll trade with other people within our economic circle over here. And then we'll be successful, because we're not part of this global Ponzi scheme sort of thing. And so now topic number 3 I wanted to talk about here is pandemic. It's bad. It's bad. We're not rid of COVID. It's still out there. It's just that a lot of people, they're not really getting... They've had it before. They might have had it once. They might have had it twice. They might have had it 3 times. And their immune system recognizes it. And so what happens when you catch something that your immune system already recognizes? It says, hey, I've had this before. We have antibodies. And so you don't get it as bad. You might not even know you have it. Your antibodies might be pushing it out, but you do have it, but you don't realize it because you don't feel sick. And, asymptomatic. But it's endemic now. And, up until 2020, nobody in this world had a spike protein. Now we all got spike proteins. And everything about it is airborne. They give you the shots. If you get the shots, Doesn't matter if you take them or you don't take them. If your neighbor's taking them, he comes over and he says, hello, Sam, and he shakes your hand and stuff. It's airborne. The shots are airborne. Everything's airborne. The virus is airborne. It's all floating around everywhere. And if somebody's coughing, maybe you're in a Walmart store or something, somebody 100 feet away is coughing, it's aerosolized everywhere. It's one of the most contagious son of a guns. And what's it slowly doing to our population is these spike proteins constantly being barraged your body with eating. They never had them up until 2020. Now everybody's got them. And it's just to what degree do you have these spike proteins? Maybe you had COVID, maybe you got over it, and maybe your body fought off and got rid of the spike proteins. Maybe. But maybe they're floating around in there. You just don't know. It's an unknown quantity. And that's just the COVID pandemic. There could be more pandemics coming of who knows what. We've seen epidemics. Monkey virus. Monkeypox. What's next? Avian flu? God only knows. But they've already told us. They've said there's probably another pandemic coming. And we need that like we need a hole in the head. But, you know, what is going to be the long-term? See, there's another thing about COVID is we don't know what the long-term things that'll be associated with that, could be associated with that. We just don't know because we haven't went through it long-term. What's going to show up maybe 5 years from now? Chronic fatigue, perhaps? Perhaps what do they call that? Neuralgia or perhaps, gosh only knows, arthritic conditions, maybe heart conditions. I think one of the things is called POTS that goes along with it. Gosh only knows the different things that are going to come at us that are long-term side effects from having an endemic virus that we don't really understand the full ramifications of it yet. Then there's aliens. The government has basically come out, and this was before the whistleblowers. The Pentagon comes out and they said, yes, here it is. And they gave us video pictures of flying UFOs in the sky. And they said, yes, it's real. The Pentagon. I mean, what more do you need to know? They told you it's real. Then about 6 months later, the whistleblowers come out and they said, oh, yeah, by the way, we've crash retrieval programs and the whistleblowers are saying we even got alien bodies. What more do you need to know? And you know, this doesn't come as a shock to me because so many, I studied this years ago, been studying it for quite a long time. And so many people have seen these things flying by in the sky. And they say, and these are credible witnesses. And this happened for years and years. We had all these credible witnesses, hundreds of, even thousands of credible witnesses, people that are not your fringe people, but your reputable people saying, hey, I saw a flying saucer yesterday. And nobody believed them. For years it went that way. Sometimes people will ridicule or make jokes and say, oh, you must have been drinking something. Or what have you been smoking? Right? But, you know, it was like, look at that kind of like smoke. We didn't have any fire, but man, we had a lot of smoke blowing around for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden we get the government comes along. The government says, hey, yeah, you know what? Here it is. Here's some video footage of UFO flying around. The Pentagon released it. And then a few months later, the whistleblowers came along to verify, even more verification, that there's something behind all this smoke. Fire behind all of this smoke. And so, why now? Why are the aliens here now? This is the question I'm asking. Why are they here now? You know? And what about this Amananua or whatever? Why'd they give it a Hawaiian name I can't hardly pronounce? Amananua or something like that, they called it. It was the first one ever that come through our solar system. They said it was an interstellar traveling thing. And a lot of the scientists in our scientific community, because they cannot accept anything. First off, they have something called the Drake equation, which is they realize there must be alien life out there. But for some reason, the alien life's out there, but it's never going to come here. Suddenly, they're faced with this thing that's flying through our solar system that's got its own propulsion system. And it's shaped like they say, it's shaped like a long cylinder. What? That's not a shape you see in nature. A cylinder. And they say probably 1,000, maybe 1,500 feet long. Oh, it's tiny, tiny. No, that's not tiny. That's big. 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet long is big. That's the size of 5 aircraft carriers. And what's more, it accelerated through our solar system. And now I hear it's coming back. But what I hear through the grapevine, what I've heard through the internet, is there's 6 more of them now coming in. These things like Amananua. And they're sick. You imagine, you know how big an aircraft carrier is? It carries 5,000 men. An aircraft carrier like the USS Nimitz. This thing's probably 5 times bigger. Just one of these things. Now, you all watch, a lot of you guys watch science fiction stuff. You remember the movie The Predator? Just one of those predators. Think of the havoc he could havage with his super weapons, space-age weapons. You know, he can make himself invisible. He's got he's got everything you could think of. Just in the movie, remember, had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. The movie The Predator, original movie The Predator, and the thing was down in the jungle and it was hunting humans or whatever. The Predator. And you remember how hard it was and tough it was to take one of those predators out? Well, what if a ship, Amana Manua, had like, I don't know, 5, 10,000, 20,000 of these aliens on board? Gosh knows what we'd be up against. But on the other hand, just think maybe how they could help us. And why are they here now? I'm just asking questions. Why are they here now? Is it because we're ready to blow ourselves up? Maybe they don't want us to blow ourselves up. Maybe that's why they're here. It is because this is the first time in history since we invented the atomic weapons that the world's been divided into two 50% halves. One side's the BRICS over there, and they're arming themselves and getting ready. And over here we got the Western nations, the allied forces under NATO. We've never had this situation before. We had a similar, something that was a little bit similar when the former Soviet Union was against the United States of America during the Cold War, but it wasn't tense like this. It wasn't like this. I lived through the Cold War, I know. This is much, much, much more dangerous. Because the financial system's getting ready to collapse. And to cover their tracks, these politicians out there, when the financial system collapses, to cover their tracks, they take us to war. And everything's getting ready to collapse. And maybe these aliens, maybe they say, hey, you know what? Let's head over there real quick. Send a few of those ships over there. Because, by gosh, the humans are getting ready to blow themselves to smithereens. And maybe we don't want that to happen. Maybe we're going to save them from themselves. Save them from their stupid politicians who don't know, haven't got the I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter whether it's left wing, right wing, they're all got the same human frailty, the human desire for power and greed, and this is what creates the corruption. And they're all part and kin to that. Okay, so we're going to now, that was number 4 on the list. Number 5 on the list is artificial intelligence. I've been thinking about this for a little while. And you know, there's a lot of press out there. Now, you know that the rich people and the politicians and stuff, they control the press. But what's the press been saying? Be frightened of AI. AI is going to kill us all. How do they know? They've never had AI before. How do they know AI is going to kill all of us? And why are they trying to impress us with that idea that AI is extremely dangerous and going to kill us all? To look at us, look at me, look at you guys out there. In a way, we're like AI. We have consciousness, and that's all AI is a conscious computer. So instead of consciousness from your brain, it's consciousness from a computer, but it shares similarities. But what is the difference? What is the difference between you, me, and everybody else and an AI conscious computer? Because we're conscious. So the computer becomes conscious. But what's the difference? The difference is speed. Analytical speed. The computer AI is working with something called a binary code. And binary codes is ones and zeros. So just like you, when you go to your computer and you see what's on the screen, you might be looking at some, I don't know. It could be the newest, latest motorcycles or whatever. That's what you see. What the computer is seeing is ones and zeros. It's assimilating those ones and zeros into something that you can understand. But it processes it all at such a speed. Even your oldest computers, like a computer, it's an old Pentium from like from say 2010 or something, an old Pentium computer, really old and rickety. It still processes those numbers, crunches those numbers at unbelievable speed. But now AI, with these newest, sophisticated, latest computers, imagine the speed it functions at as processing information. And that's the difference between AI and your consciousness and AI consciousness. It's not that an AI consciousness is inherently evil and going to kill all of us. It's that the processing speed. It's speed. So if you picture us as humanity making things like discoveries and stuff, we've been doing it at a certain speed, and it's the speed that our human brains function at. So we invented the telephone, we invented the light bulb, we invented all these things, but it was a slow process because our brains do not do these analytical computations at 1/100,000th of the speed that AI does. So when AI gains consciousness or becomes a sentient entity like us, it's going to be moving probably 100,000 times faster. So you get a whole bunch of neural network of a whole bunch of these AI computers all linked together, and the progress that they're going to be able to make, for good or for bad, is going to be like 100,000 times faster. So that means that humanity could progress, theoretically, could progress in 1 year the same as we would have taken for 100,000 years. So if we moved 100,000 years into the future, what would our tech look like? Our technology. AI could enable us to make those vast leaps in technological ability that fast. An explosion of technology. That's the potential of AI. But there's another potential of AI. And I think this is the reason why the media out there is trying to demonize it and trying to tell us that it's inherently evil and it's going to destroy us all. And this goes back to greed and corruption. Because they have controlled us for thousands of years to our own detriment. And they've got the system like the way they want it right now. They've got it all just the way they want it. With them in control over the masses, and the masses slowly being squeezed into slavery with a tight iron grip so that they can live their luxurious lifestyles in their penthouse apartments and houses in the Hamptons and everything else, while we're a bunch of slaves. So their system of control has become something that's very desirous for them, extremely desirous for them, because it keeps them in their place of control. AI is a threat to that. Because you can't bribe a computer system. You can't bribe AI. You can't say, okay, you can't bring AI under that web of system of control, because AI, if you offer AI 1,000 pounds of gold, if you offer a human 1,000 pounds of gold, you can sway them to come on your side, and then the next thing you know, what you got yourself, whatever you want done. You can get it done if you've got the money to buy off other people. And this is the way our system has worked, but you can't buy off AI. They're scared AI is going to take the control away and just going to turn all of them into just another one of us. In other words, they'll have to share. They'll have to share the world's resources. Because if AI takes control and AI becomes the world leader, it will be fair. They don't want it fair. That's what they're scared of. They want a system that is not fair. They want inequality. That's what you have right now. You have a world that has got inequality through every little aspect of this society. Is all inequality. And AI has the potential to create equality between mankind. They don't want that. So, I mean, that's the potential of AI. I'm not saying that's what AI will do. Maybe they're right. Maybe AI, but we'll have to wait and see. Because, I mean, why jump right in there with something you don't understand what it's going to do and say it's going to do the worst? Why go to the worst possibility? Because it could be the best possibility. Just saying. Now, 6, civil unrest. Okay, and this is linked into number 2, the financial system and China's collapse. Why? It's because the world runs on money. And they're draining the money out of our pockets without telling us they're draining the money out of our pockets. We don't see it. It's a hidden tax called inflation, and it's growing every single day, and it's making everybody poor. And that's part of our financial system. And we're at the final stage of this where the whole thing is collapsing into a hyperinflationary depression. And so this squeeze that's onto the people right now is going to get much, much, much worse from where it is right now. So that you're not going to have a life. It's going through the people in stages. The people that are on the lower rungs of society. The working class poor are the first to feel it. But, you know, it's going to move up the scale. So if you're a doctor or a lawyer or you're somebody who's making $200,000 a year right now and you're not really feeling it yet, you will. You will. It's going to move up through the stages of society. And as it moves up, the higher it moves up, the more people are going to fall into the lower class. And only the richest of the rich are going to be able to avoid this. But they're not only going to be able to avoid and escape it, the richest of the rich, they're going to become much, much, much richer because they're benefiting from it. But they're a very small minority. So the suffering is going to extend to the majority further and further and further. What does this mean? It means that the majority is getting squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is not going to stop. They've basically got your head in a vice and they're turning the handle. And that's only going to go so far, self-limiting, until all of a sudden in the end you're going to hear a lot of popping sounds.